I would get in the middle and say, you know, stop arguing, stop arguing. And I've always been interested in people. At one time, I worked in advertising and I had my own television production company. And I would be on the set, and my job was to go out and get the job and then to actually produce the job and work with my partner who directed the work. And I would be on the set, and my job was to basically handle all the people on the set. So there had to be anywhere from 25 to 50 people on set, and then probably anywhere from 10 to 20 people, advertising people. And I would just handle them. It wasn't even a problem for me, because I was always good at listening to people. And I was always good at being able to articulate what someone needed at the particular time and do it in a very simple way. So when I got out of advertising, I decided, maybe I should go to school and become a therapist. First, I got involved in spiritual counseling. I became a spiritual counselor. I became a minister, interfaith minister. And then after that, I got into learning how to become a psychoanalytic psychotherapist by studying psychoanalysis. I'm not certified. I don't have a license to do that. But with my training, I did work with a lot of people. And what I decided to do, because it was psychoanalysis, you didn't really ask the kind of questions I wanted to, which led me directly into coaching.
It was more of the Freudian method?
Yes, it was more Freudian. And that brought me into coaching and brought me into the whole world of mental health. And as a matter of fact, I work right now with someone, his name is Dr. Daniel Amen, and he's in New York City, all over the world actually, and he's asked me to come in and be a coach with his staff. So I love to work with people. I love to talk to people. I love to help people if possible, because there's so much that I can learn and also contribute, because I'm here to serve. And if there's a way that I can do that, whether it's talking to somebody, whether it's staying in my kitchen and cooking, because I grew up in an Italian restaurant and I know how to cook, and or whether it has to do with music, because I'm a music person. I have a music background as well. So that kind of led me along the route.
Do you find that music has helped with dealing with mental health issues?
Absolutely. Music is one of the key elements they're finding out in studies. There's a lot of study around neuroscience, and there's finding out, amongst other things, that music is one of the key things that can help people, because it works on not an intellectual basis, it's working on an emotional basis. So therefore, it is literally going inside your body. So it can literally change the DNA. So if you're feeling in a very bad mood, for whatever the reasons, go play music, because instantaneously it'll take you someplace else. And the other area that neuroscience has done a lot of work on is in gratitude. Because the thing about gratitude is that if you're in let's say, a bad place, let's say depression, for lack of a better term, if you can shift that to be grateful about something, the brain can't handle more than two thoughts at the same time. So it'll take you out of the depression. And it's a practice. But they've been studying it through neuroscience. But music is clearly something that's really powerful for people, very powerful.
Excellent, excellent. Here we have a list with us to talk about mental illness in a kind of in a general way. But we go over here the types of mental illnesses, and we're going to talk about that a little bit for you. So here we have mental disorder notes. I'll just read this. A mental disorder, also called a mental illness or psychiatric disorder, is a behavioral or mental pattern that causes significant distress or impairment of personal functioning. Mental disorders are usually defined by a combination of how a person behaves, feels, perceives, or thinks.
Absolutely.
So maybe we can go into some of the different types of mental illnesses that there are.
So I'll be reading off of this just so
Sure.
everybody knows this, because, as I said once before, there's a lot smarter people than I am. So I like to just work from that. This came out of off the internet, as everything comes off the internet. And
where did we find this one?
I believe this was from WebMD.
Oh, good.
Okay.
WebMD. That's very good.
Yeah. So you've got, for mental illness, you've got mood disorders such as depression and bipolar disorder, and I'll go through them later.
Sure. Which is something that I was once diagnosed with.
Bipolar?
Bipolar disorder.
Uh-huh.
And then because I had psychosis, the diagnosis was later sort of changed to schizoaffective disorder.
Okay.
Which is basically bipolar disorder with aspects of schizophrenia. I didn't hear voices and I wasn't seeing things, but most certainly I was believing things that were not true. Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Anxiety disorders, which at some point we all get anxious. It's a question of how much and when it becomes a disorder. Personality disorders.
Such as?
Borderline personalities. Borderline personality is a great example of a borderline personality. Is I had someone who was a borderline. I had them for a year. They thought I was the greatest thing ever.
At first.
At first. And then they came in and they told me something, and I said, gee, maybe you ought to get a second opinion on that. And they went absolutely
berserk
and got up, walked out, and I never saw them again. That's a perfect example of borderline disorder.
Excellent. Would it be considered a personality disorder as well as narcissistic personality disorder?
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. It goes hand in hand.
Those two, narcissism and borderline, are often
they're
comorbid,
as we love to say. Don't you love that word? Comorbid.
Funny word.
Co-depth. I love that. Psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, eating disorders, trauma-related disorders such as post-traumatic stress syndrome disorder, and substance abuse disorders. Those are types, but we could literally go into what each one means.
Right.
Is that okay?
Sure.
So we've got clinical depression, which is characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing significant impairment in a daily life. Someone had asked me a little bit about that before, and I said, well, some example would be, you know, you just don't feel like getting out of bed, for example. Or you know that you have to do work, but you just don't feel like doing the work. Or
lack of
motivation, lack of any kind of feeling like I should take care of myself. Because people
self-care goes out the window.
Self-care goes out the window, and what, as human beings, we need to learn how to love ourselves, how to take care of ourselves, which is critical for personal growth and for mental